Good morning again. My name is Bruce Watts. I'm the Vice President for the Water Group, and Denny Blackburn, who's the Senior Vice President of Water Group. We're going to double team you this morning and be the ceremonies for this great occasion for Ravenwood Crossing. We started this journey about 3 years ago, and we met Councilwoman LOIS Watkins at a conference, the Black Elected Officials Conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we exchanged business cards. And you know, when you go to these conferences, either you can do something with a business card or you can file it away or throw it away, you know. But I decided to do something with my business card that I had. So I followed up, and I gave her a call about 2 weeks later, and I told her that we were actually one of the sponsors for the Black Elected Officials Conference. And so I said to her, I said, you know, we're really interested in Rocky Mount, that particular area. And she invited me to come down, and she gave me a tour of the city. And 2 sites she identified on that tour that she said that she would like to see redeveloped. One was Bill Street, and the other one was Claremont. At the time it was called Claremont. And so I said, what is your highest priority? And she said, Claremont. And from that, she introduced me to this great city staff. And Denny and I met with City Manager Charles Penny, Ken Graves, Tasha Logan Ford, I think she was Tasha Logan at the time, and other staff members. And he had brought the team in. And we presented a proposal to acquire the Claremont site. And at the end of the day, we're putting 80 townhouse units there. It's a tremendous public-private partnership. We couldn't be more elated to have a partner like the city of Rocky Mount, Mayor. Your team here is tremendous. I work with quite a few municipalities in my tenure in the development business for over 20 years. And this is one of the best teams I've ever worked with. So the team needs to be commended. The city needs to be commended. You all have made tremendous growth in the last 3 years since we've been here in Rocky Mount. And I just want to thank you all so much for that. I'm going to turn it over to Denny for some remarks, and then we'll have the invocation.
Well, Good morning. My name is Denny Blackburn. As Bruce said, I've got a senior somewhere in the title. That's because I'm older than Bruce by a lot of years. But it's a great privilege to be here. And as Bruce said, if there's ever an award that goes to perseverance, I think this could be it. It took a while. We were going through with a lot of different sort of, you know, third time's a charm type of thing was one of our mottos when we went forward with this. But there's a lot of people to thank. I don't want to go into a long I should be thanking everybody that's here. And we will go through that as a lot of people are going to make some nice speeches, but I do see a few people that are not going to speak today that I'd like to just recognize in the audience. Scott Farmer is here today. We're not asking you to speak, Scott. You speak enough at these events, so we will not ask you to speak. Also, our architect Becky Bascom is there. So if you think the design is going to be beautiful, you can congratulate all of us. If you think it's horrible, it's all Becky's fault, and we would like you to do that. Other people will be there, and I do know that I think there's some other representatives that should be here. Is Representative Bonnie Richardson here? I think she was going to come. And representing Senator Angela Bryant, is Lynette Bryant here? Those are just 2 people I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge as they were going to come. I'm going to give you the 30 seconds overview of what the whole project is about before we get started, so everybody can sort of situate themselves. 80 units, townhome units, not very seen very often in such communities for tax credit developments, but we think this is going to fit in beautifully into this neighborhood. We worked extremely in collaboration with the city, and the city helped us all along the way in getting us everything we needed, including a funding resource at the end. So that was really great. We're talking about a $9 million project in total. We're going to end up with a little bit more. We're going to end up with 9 one-bedroom units, 36 twos, and 35 threes. There'll be a central amenity office that will have a management office. It'll also have a multi-purpose space, laundry facility, fitness, computer rooms. So this will be a very beautiful community that's going to be created here on the south side. The exterior will have we will have a playground, and we'll have seating areas, a covered picnic area for people to gather. So we're creating a sense of community. But what is absolutely fabulous in this particular location is it's right next to this building, this property in itself. It's just so rare to be able to develop a development like this and then have such a wonderful community center absolutely adjacent to it. So the whole idea was trying to blend it in. Our playground will be nice and small so that you can use all the facilities that are here. The units themselves will be extremely well built in the sense that all the units will have Energy Star appliances, all modern commodities as you expect to see in an absolute market rate development. As I said, we will have handicap accessible units as well. There will actually be 8 fully handicap accessible units on this. But we will be around and able to actually talk more about the project itself if anybody's got any questions. And I really, really look forward to actually having the ribbon cutting event. That's when we can see everything. But it's a great opportunity just to take a breather and say, my goodness, we're at a crucial milestone. We are starting construction. The shovels are hitting the ground. Thank you.
Next, we'll have the invocation by Reverend Walker. Just to give you a little bit of background on him, when you come to a city, you want to meet the right people. That's very important. And Councilwoman Watkins introduced me to Reverend Walker a few months ago, and I was just so impressed with his record, spiritual record, number one. Number two, his political record, his activism in the city, in not only the city of Rocky Mount, but throughout the United States. He's an icon in his own right, and it's just a pleasure that we're going to have him to do the invocation this morning. Reverend Walker.
Almighty God, we are reminded as we come that your word said, except the Lord keep the city, the watchman wake but in vain. But we thank you that we do have the assurance of your presence. We thank you, O God, that you have blessed Rocky Mount and you continue to do so. We thank you for this project. We thank you for those who have been involved in it. We thank you, O God, for the leadership of this city, our mayor, our city managers, both past and present, our council persons. We thank you, O God, for all of the staff. And we ask, O God, that you would go with us and bless us as we embark upon this project, that it might manifest in such a way that this community will continue to thrive and grow. In Jesus' name, amen.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Mayor Combs. If I could just say a few words about him. Again, I've been in Rocky Mount for about 3 years, and I went online and I saw his YouTube address for the State of the City this past year. And I was so impressed to see that you all have had over $460 million worth of investment in Rocky Mount. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens by leadership. And when you can find leaders that is willing to take a city from where it is to another level, that's something special. The better days for Rocky Mount are ahead. Good days are here now. You all have the sports complex, the downtown community facility, the biotech center. CXX Railroad is doing a $270 million expansion. You don't find that in America every day. So we're very pleased to be here, and we're very pleased to have the Honorable Mayor to give remarks today. Mayor David Combs.
Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Denny. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here today. This is a great week in Rocky Mount. We did the ribbon cutting on another $10 million project, 80-unit project yesterday that started about 18 months ago. And today we're having the groundbreaking for another 80 units that'll be available in about 18 months from now. So it's a great day in Rocky Mount. I also want to recognize Councilmember Bullock that is here. You'll hear from Councilmember Watkins. Councilmember Rogers is in the back. Also want to recognize our former city manager, Charles Penny, who was one of the drivers of this project. David Ferris, who's with us from the Chamber of Commerce, Executive Director. Thank you for being here as well. You know, one of the things that we talked about yesterday was that for 80 units, there were 1,000 applications. By the time they finished building it, it was almost 100% leased out. It proves that we have a need here in Rocky Mount for affordable housing. There are people in substandard housing around the city. We want to get them out of those substandard housing and get them in nice housing like this that everybody deserves to be in. Part of what we do with these types of projects could not be done without the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Scott, thank you for your investment, continued investment in Rocky Mount. We have two board members here in Rocky Mount, Paul JABOR, who's with us today, and also Charles Mullen, who was with us yesterday. It's important that we continue to reinvest in our city and provide this type of housing. I also want to thank the Powell family. You know, this was a project that for many, many years there were families that lived here, raised their children, and over a period of time, like a lot of investors, you know, it just continued the investment and it wasn't worth it for them. So over a period of time, these apartments that were previously here got a little bit run down, and the Powell family decided to close them up. But the good thing is they donated in the city of Rocky Mount. We were able to control this property, and when the city gets involved in something like that, that's a big piece of it, is taking control of the property so that then we have some options on where we go from there. We were fortunate that we had some people that were willing to continue, even though the first round, and this is a very competitive process at the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. They've got people all over the state that want to do tax credit projects, and it's very competitive. Even if you score 100%, it doesn't mean that you're going to get your project because there's a limited amount of funds, and they've got to make decisions on where these funds are spent. But the WOTA group, thank goodness, like you said, third time's a charm, but you know, they stuck with it. The city council continued to extend their contract. And so it is something that we're here today. You know, one of the things that we continually had from our city council is housing, affordable housing, and what is it and how do we provide it in the city of Rocky Mount. So this is a great day for the city. We are happy. I know LOIS Watkins, she's got to be real happy today. She's, again, a big part of this. So we want to thank you all for being here today. We want to continue to invite the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency to continue to help us with projects here in the city of Rocky Mount. Scott and Paul and your board of directors, thank you for investing in Rocky Mount and continuing to invest in Rocky Mount. We've got a number of tax credit projects here, and we couldn't do it if it wasn't for their help as well. So thank you for what you've done in Rocky Mount. At this time, I do have something for Bruce and Denny, if you'll come forward. This is just from the city of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, presented to the WOTA Group, Inc. on the occasion of the Ravenwood Crossing groundbreaking. Hopefully about 18 months from now, we'll get another one, and it says 12 months, okay. And so I want to present this to you, and again, thank you for your investment in Rocky Mount.
Mayor Combs, thank you again for all your leadership and all the kind words you said about the WOTA Group. We do feel like this is our home now, and hopefully we'll be able to do a number of projects in the great city of Rocky Mount. Next, I would like to introduce Councilwoman Lois Watkins, and I'd like to say a few words about her. She's a leader too. She's a strong leader in this city, and she cares deeply about the city, the residents, and economic development. And I remember when we first had conversations, she just said, you know, I want you all to come in and do a project that our city will be proud of. And that's really one of our mottos. When we met with City Manager Charles Penny, I remember that first meeting we had with him, and he said to me and to David Cooper, one of the owners, he said, Bruce, he said, when that child gets off of that bus, I want that child to be proud that they live in this development. And I never forgot it. When I give a speech about what we do, I always talk about we provide affordable housing for people that work hard every day, but don't make the money that we necessarily make. But they deserve to live in quality housing. But he made me take it to another level and say, in my speech, that we need to provide housing that our children are proud of. When they get off of that bus, when they come home, that they can pump their chest and say, we're proud that we live at Ravenwood Crossing or wherever it could be. But Councilwoman Watkins, she actually quarterbacked our team, with the city manager's help. Anytime I needed to meet with a community group, Reverend Walker, whoever, she made those contacts for us. And she never told me that she was too busy to meet with me, to meet with Denny, to meet with our team, and that's leadership. So at this point, I would like to bring Councilwoman Watkins to make remarks.
I just don't know what to say right off, but I always like to give honor where it's due, so to God be the glory, because he is the first cause of everything. And so I want to give honor to God and everyone who's here today. I want to say, first of all, that the Rocky Mount City Council is 7 of us, and we work well together. And our mayor, David Combs, W.B. Bullock, Tom Rogers, Reuben Blackwell, Lamont Wiggins, and Andre Knight, the 7 of us. We don't always agree on everything, but for the majority of our time together, I would say 70 to 75%, we're on the same page with actions that we take. And so that's important because a lot of cities don't have that type of cooperation. And we need that kind of cooperation in order to advance and make some of the progress that we have made. So I'm very honored about that. And our former manager, and I just told him a few minutes ago, he will always be my city manager, Charles Penny. He's been the driving force. We have communicated the vision, and he took that vision and ran with it. And as a result of that, the things that are happening in our city now, that Denny mentioned some, the mayor mentioned some, his leadership also brought those things to pass. And now we have a new manager. She's not here today. She was with us yesterday, Rochelle Small-Tony, and she's a great manager also. She's our first woman, and she's going to take us to the next level. And so I just want to recognize them. I also want to recognize Ms. Brenda Cooper, who is the neighborhood president for this community. And Brenda and this neighborhood have been wanting to see something happen in South Rocky Mount since I've been on council. I've been on council now 10 years. And so it's been at least 10 years that we've been wanting something to happen with Claremont Apartments. And so I heard it all the time. They're not going to do anything in South Rocky Mount. All they do is talk. But now, look, it's being transformed, and so I'm very proud. And so I just want to have us salute Brenda Cooper and our community and our council. Thank you, thank you, thank you all. And the word transformation is one that I think Charles Penny coined that phrase because he was always using it when he gave speeches, even when he would talk to the council about the event center and about what was happening, what was coming in Rocky Mount. But that's a word that we use often when we think about the progress that has happened in South Rocky Mount. And just thinking back to 2015, when we started looking at doing something different and improving this community center right here at the Rocky Mount Community Center. And so over a year period, we saw this progress, $2.7 million renovation facility, and it's beautiful. And it's used more than it ever has been used in history. Children are always here playing games. There's no issue with, people are here, coming here from all over the community, whereas at one point they were afraid to come in this community, some people. But it's greatly improved, and so I'm very proud of this Rocky Mount facility, the community center. And so we have air-conditioned gym, a renovated community kitchen, exercise room, computer lab, game room, improved parking, better security, meeting spaces, over 20,000 square foot. And I'm so proud of this as a council member, and proud of our city manager's office, the Parks and Recreation Department, and so many others who set out to accomplish this truly great work. Now all I can say is we are about to see another tremendous transformation. This is not just a transformation of the appearance of this community as we imagine these beautiful apartments for single residents and for families equipped with the amenities many of you have said you want to see here. Walter, when I first met Bruce Watts, and he came to Rocky Mount with his team, we were just anticipating just improvement. It had been more than 10 years, and there has been more than 4 different developers that have attempted at Claremont before. And when I say God is the first cause, God, it didn't happen until it was time, and it was Walter's time here in Rocky Mount. So we're glad that you're here. We thank you for what you're doing. We look forward to working with you over the next year. And hopefully we, as they stated when they came, they said, we're looking for a long-term relationship. And so are we. So thank you all very much. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Councilwoman Watkins, for your leadership, and also the other council members on Rocky Mount City Council. Thank you so much for your confidence in us, because it did take a couple times before we received those credits. But we've got them today, and that's a tribute to you all's confidence in us. So we again appreciate all that you've done to support us. Next, we have from the office of United States Senator Richard Burr. Is Miss Betty Shepherd here? Okay. Let me say a couple things about the United States Senator, Mr. Burr. He's the chairman of the U.S. Select Committee on Intelligence, and if you watch any news at all, you know who he is. He's also on the Committee for Health, Education, Labor, Pension, Senate Finance Committee, and the Senate for Aging. So we have a very strong advocate for us in Congress and the Senate, and Senator Burr, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here, Betty, to represent our great United States Senator, Mr. Burr.
Well, Mr. Watts, it's indeed a pleasure to be here today, and all I can say is I'm glad that you and Ms. Watkins exchanged those cards, and I'm glad you kept them, because Senator Burr has an office here in Rocky Mount. His eastern office for the state is here in Rocky Mount, and he purposely located it here. He told me that just as long it was in the city of Rocky Mount that I could pick out the location. And I live in Tarboro in Edgecombe County, but I was born on the Edgecombe side of Rocky Mount in the old Memorial Hospital. I lived in Rocky Mount until I was like around 14 or so, so Rocky Mount has always seemed like home to me. And so I always know the two-county concept, so I wanted to get the office as close as to the two counties as I could. So that's why we went into the train station. And the Chamber of Commerce is our landlord, and we've been there now 13 years. And it's been just a great place to be. I love downtown Rocky Mount. I love this part of Rocky Mount. Like I said, I'm pretty on an age now, so I can remember a lot about this area. And I was here for when they opened after the renovation of this community center. And like Ms. Watkins said, I know that now it is being used so much, and that's what the senator wants to see. He wants to see the whole city of Rocky Mount and eastern North Carolina thrive. Senator Burr will continue, he will continue to absolutely support tax credits and affordable housing for all of our citizens. This is just a big day, a big week, because I was there yesterday, and for the other part of Rocky Mount over the Beale Street project and this, but this is kind of I don't know, historical to me, this Raleigh Street, Raleigh Road, this Willerford Town, this section, and it's just absolutely doing my heart well to see it thriving and you making it happen, and the Rocky Mount leadership, the Rocky Mount City Council. And I'm so glad you invited me here today to be a part of it. Thank you. Thank you for what you are going to do for Rocky Mount, and I thank the leadership of Rocky Mount.
Again, we'd like to thank Senator Burr for all he's doing in the great state of North Carolina and in Rocky Mount. Next, we have a representative from Senator Tom Tillis' office. Is Austin here? Shear? All right. I'd like to say a couple words about the great senator, Mr. Tillis. He's on the Armed Service Committee, Banking, Housing, Urban Affairs, Committee for Judiciary, Veteran Affairs, and Aging. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you here to represent the great Senator Tom Tillis. Please come forward.
All right, good morning. It's so great to be here. I didn't grow up in Rocky Mount like Betty Jo, but I feel like I'm only 50 minutes away down 95 in Benson, so I'm coming here quite often. And please feel free, NC Housing Finance Agency, keep spending that money here in Rocky Mount. And there's 28 other counties out east that would love to see it as well. So I always enjoy attending these events. And you know, it's because projects like Ravenwood Crossing, they not only transform communities, but most importantly, they transform lives with a safe place to live, go to work, and raise a family. And you know, to make projects like this become a reality, it takes a lot of visionary leadership, like the WOTA Group, the City of Rocky Mount, and the NC Housing Finance Agency. So we'll continue to do our part in D.C., and I'm already excited about touring this project at the ribbon cutting in 12 months. So let's go move some dirt. So thank you all so much for having me here.
Lynette Britt is here. Lynette, I'd like to recognize you. We tried before. You weren't quite here. She's representing the Senator Angela Bryant. Thank you, District 4. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the finance guy, so I'm the one that gets to sort of introduce the sort of all those guys that bring the money to the table. We've thanked the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency a lot, because we really need to thank them a lot. They deliver the credits. It's a competitive process. I now know that Charles Penny is doing an interim city manager job, so that's going to be our next actual development. We're going to go and meet with him later on to make sure we get our next development in there. But it is a great privilege to introduce the next person who's going to say a few words on behalf of the agency. But before I introduce you, Mr. Paul Jabor, who is a board member of the agency, I get the opportunity of working in many different other states, and I would like to thank the agency you have in North Carolina is the best I've ever worked with throughout the whole of the United States. Thank you so much. I don't know why it took them 3 times to give us the credits on this one, but you know, nobody's 100% perfect. But I would like to introduce Mr. Paul Jabor, who's a board member, and also, I believe you're from Rocky Mount, so right? Correct. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Denny and Bruce. I have prepared remarks so I don't mess anything up. Pleased to represent the board and the staff of the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency today. We are a self-supporting public agency that has a simple mission: to finance affordable housing across the state. We do everything from solutions to homelessness to home buyer mortgages. And let me add that too, these tax credit developments are very competitive, extremely competitive. And Charles Penny, every time I saw him, he talked about this project. And he was a spark plug behind getting it to the place where the Housing Finance Agency could approve the project. We're very fortunate to have our executive director today, Scott Farmer. Scott, stand up. And several staff members from the agency and communications group with us as well. And just a few things about Scott. Scott head up the rental area, the tax credit area, for many, many years with the Housing Finance Agency. But back last, it seems like last spring, January, he became our executive director. And we're so pleased to have Scott leading our group, and he does a great job. And he was following the footsteps of Bob Cucab, who is nationally famous for his work with the housing finance agencies. As you can see on the program, it takes a dedicated and talented group of folks to make the project of this magnitude come together. I want to congratulate Denny and Bruce with the WOTA Group and the City of Rocky Mount. Without the City of Rocky Mount, of course, it wouldn't be here. And their hard work. And Charles Penny, retired city manager, glad he came today, and the staff that works with them. All the partners to be able to get these 80 units, these 80 families into affordable housing in 12 months is a huge chore. As one of those partners, the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency is pleased to provide $800,000 from the RPP loan, which is the home match fund, along with $840,000 of financing from the state's workforce housing loan program. So it's two different pots of money that the financing, the $1.6 million came from the Housing Finance Agency. Of course, none of our work would be possible without the support and leadership of our elected officials. Although their schedules would not allow them to join us today, please be sure to thank your state legislators from the General Assembly, especially Senator Bryant and Representative Richardson, who represent this county, along with Congressman Holding, as they are partnering in the development as well. Also, like you've met Betty Jo Shepherd and Adam Caldwell from our senator's office too. Very supportive of the housing efforts in North Carolina and the nation. Each of these folks continue to be strong supporters of the housing investment, and they each understand the value of housing that is affordable and how it impacts our lives and our communities. Quality affordable housing is the foundation of a strong community. These investments will help bring new tax revenues and will support nearly 200 construction jobs. And we're proud to be part of this project and this investment in Rocky Mount. Thank you.
We're just getting to the end of our presentations. The formal part, we'll now go outside to sort of, freeze ourselves as we do the traditional, tossing of the earth, the actual true groundbreaking. But I do need to thank a few more people. We get the tax credits, and then the way this works is you actually have people that invest in the tax credits, that buy the tax credits. And I do need to mention that CAHEC is the actual equity investor in this particular project. And I should also mention that Bank of Tennessee is providing the construction financing and the permanent debt on this particular project. Bruce and I are in development. We're sort of, if you take the Rolling Stones, we're sort of the Mick Jagger and up front. We're the guy, but there's a whole group of roadies and production people that are around. And I do want to sort of mention a few. I want to first of all mention Larry Samuels from WOTA Construction. They will be leading the construction. He's out there with the shovel, making sure that nobody else touches the shovel until we get there. I do also want to introduce two very important people, because I always say we have the easy job, Bruce. We just do it for the first 3, 4, 5, well, in this case, 5, 6 years to sort of get it done. But then I think Lisa Landis and Judy Sarhan with WOTA Management, you will be getting this project in a year's time from now, and then you'll be, we want to beat all records and lease this up before it even opens, and then you'll do a great job in managing. That's, I think, what's also important with the WOTA group. We are fully integrated. We come, we stay, and we stay. And I think that's also very important. I would also just like to finish off with thanking two people. Kellyanne Davis with the City of Rocky Mount. You were phenomenal, Kellyanne, in helping put this all together. Thank you very much, Kellyanne. And also Karen Burnett. Karen did a great job, too, on the WOTA side. I have never been to a groundbreaking where I've actually had a printout of the speeches like this, and I've never actually been in a building. Usually we're under a tent and it's raining. So this is really a great change for me.